Hi, it's Dr. Parikh, and we're talking now about your full proposal draft. So you've gotten every part of your proposal written, and it's time to start pasting it all into one document and checking to see how you're doing. So I'm here in the assignment for submitting your final draft. It's not actually due until next week in Module 7, but you are getting ready to send a draft to your peer to review. So I want to talk about what your final needs to be. And remember, this final paper is worth 100 points. So 10% of your grade comes from how well you end up on this final paper. And most of it, I believe, most if not all of the rubric is really the same as what you've had your drafts and your outlines evaluated by. So it's not terribly different. I have emphasized slightly different things, but it's more or less the same as what you've seen before. So there's some things coming from formatting. It looks at your abstract content, how many words you have, keywords, running heads. So these are very specific for a final paper, but it's because I'm still trying to, it does a few things for me. It lets me be very consistent across students when it's that, that detailed. It also lets me still give you really precise feedback about what you need to work on in the future. Because this, grading is a conversation. It's a way for me to give you information. Headings and formatting, so all of your titles and formatting is correct through the paper. Roadmap paragraph, so an overall kind of, is it a single topic or single paragraph that's identifying the topic? Are you starting with something to kind of generate some interest? Do you include an original thesis statement? Are you explaining the rest of the paper? And for some of these, I'm specifically doing a reminder, is it updated to fit with your research proposal? Is it consistent? And the roadmap paragraph in particular, I've noticed, and I've heard from other professors, that students who take my course and, they often aren't sure how to make the roadmap paragraph distinct. So in this course, I've tried to make it more clear how you make it distinct. It should still follow the basic outline, the basic pattern of ideas from your abstract, but it's not the same. It needs to be, it needs to have more of that catching your interest piece. It also needs to be reworded. So you can't just copy and paste the same sentences. You need to reword the sentences, and you're going to give a little less detail. So it's not exactly the same paragraph. Background paragraphs. So that's after that heading of literature review, that it basically it establishes basic foundation knowledge and then funnels down to your topic. Ooh, there's a cardinal outside my window. Aw. It needs to cite at least 2 articles. You need to have, for the first theme, at least 3 articles. Each paragraph needs to cite at least 2 articles. Correct heading. At least 2 paragraphs and cites 3 different articles. That's the difference. I was trying to figure out what was different, and I'm still distracted by the cardinal, which is now in the middle of the tree, and I can't see him anymore. So theme 1 integrates information from at least 3 sources in a meaningful way. So up here, theme 1, I'm looking at, do you have at least 3 citations? For integration, I'm looking at, are you not just stacking them? Are you showing us how they're connected, what they mean taken together? Same thing for theme 2, and then we get into the present study. So do you have this article here, or this paragraph here? And it kind of, so that's just sort of one point for, one box for the present study. Develops arguments. So each paragraph really contributing to this argument? Does each paragraph have topic sentences? So that's for the introduction, really, not the literature review anymore. Now we get into the method. So we're looking at headings and spacing for the method, so indents, things like that. participants, and these get kind of broad. So before in your drafts, I was very detailed for everything. Now I do for these sections, it's more just, do you have stuff in there, and then you get, your points are based on how many mistakes you have. So these are fairly broad measures for participants, measures, and procedure. The method format, so is it following the formatting rules? The results section, again, it's just one paragraph, and so it's looking at, are you listing these basic things? Now I do pull out things like the independent and dependent variables. There's a specific question about that. And I also look at, are you using statistical terms correctly? I'm looking at making sure you're avoiding biased terms like proved. We don't prove anything in science. We say that, there's a lot of evidence that supports it. We don't prove things. And then a check to make sure you're using future tense prospective language. Discussion, appropriate headings and spacing. I may sneeze in a minute. And so looking, looking at each paragraph of the discussion, and it's looking to see if they're updated too. That citations are accurate anytime it's being referred to, and as I've discussed before, I think in the previous video, if you are referring to a specific study and you don't cite it, that is plagiarism. That's not the kind of plagiarism that gets you a 0 for your whole paper, but I do want to mark it and let you know that is plagiarism. And if you're doing it repeatedly, like if you have a whole paper with no citations, that's a pretty big issue. We get to the conclusion paragraph, so you have a heading for that. It summarizes the main points. It's updated to reflect your research questions or hypotheses. And then we get to, these are the same things that the rubric went through for the literature review. So the logical development, supporting your claims, having emphasis, so basically having points that stand out. Your writing style, so having following APA style, following general guidelines, being professional. Academic writing, it's similar to style, but it's just a little bit different. And then writing mechanics, which is the basic like grammar, sentence construction, things like that. One item related to quotes, references, headings, references, APA style. And most of these are things that have been graded several times by now. And then I have one section, I think this is the single largest point section, is your overall evidence of revision. So does it look like you've put a lot of effort in and been successful in revising things? And kind of similar, so revision is based on feedback. So I tell you this needs, you need more clear topic sentences, and your next draft has more clear topic sentences. But this next is updating. So again, fairly high points based on the rest of the rubric. So significant changes to the original writing to represent a research proposal specific to the hypothesis rather than a literature review. So basically, have you put in the work to transform it? So that is the rubric for your final paper, which is worth 10% of your grade. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.